Welcome to another edition of the Amazons and Afripreneur interview series from the stable of Agbari Multimedia Company. Here, we showcase and celebrate Amazons and Afripreneurs on the African continent or of African descent anywhere in the world. Our mission, of course, is to inspire you into greatness as we celebrate the winning Amazons and Afripreneurs in Africa. If you have any questions, kindly drop them in the comment section and we'll surely get back to you. Today, I'm super excited. I'm here with an Amazon that has distinguished herself in the legal and advocacy world. Before bringing her up, let's get to know a little bit about her.
Fatmata Barrie was born in Sierra Leone and moved to the United States when she was 11 years old. She grew up in South Florida and graduated from Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University with bachelor's in psychology and a law degree from the University of Florida. She has been an active practicing attorney for almost 20 years. Fatmata has been a staunch advocate for civil rights for 20 years, focusing on special education, criminal justice, the youths, women, and immigration rights. Fatmata is running for Montgomery Council in Maryland to be a voice against injustice and to continue advocating for causes she cares about. She is a role model to girls, women, and youths, and a worthy Amazon worth celebrating.
Let me now have the honor of adding and bringing her on. Welcome, madam.
Wow. I don't need to say anything else. He's done
No,
it.
you have to. You do have to. I'm so honored to finally meet you. I'm honored to be interviewing you. And like I said earlier, I'm also a lawyer, so I'm going to be really inspired by your 20 years plus experience in this profession. I'm just 11 years old as a lawyer. And so I'm sure I'm going to be tapping into your experience today. Welcome. And, the objective, of course, on this interview is to celebrate and then inspire younger ones with your experience. So tell us a little bit more about you that is not on that bio you just listened to.
Oh, okay. So further on that bio, when I came to the US at 11, I was what today would be considered undocumented, meaning that I did not have a green card, I wasn't a citizen. So I grew up basically living in two worlds and not really knowing where you belong and not really knowing whether you're safe, because obviously if you're here in the US, you don't have a green card, there's always a door. It took my parents years. I came at the age of 11. I did not get my green card until right before law school. So that's how long it was before. So I had to pay for school out of pocket because if you're not a permanent resident or U.S. citizen, you can't really get much funds, much money. So things like that. So that's just a little bit. I will be what they call today dreamer. So somebody who is without documentation and has to make ends meet the best way they can and pray that everything out. But, I was lucky. I had a fantastic family and supportive parents. So.
Well, I love the fact that you just shared a very, very important aspect of being abroad or in countries like the US without, valid papers and still making it happen. So thank you for inspiring them. But there's an important part of, being a Black female lawyer in the US. That's a big deal, let alone being a civil rights activist of repute. All of this, how have you been able to survive and thrive in this business, considering the bias against women in various other professions, talk less of the legal profession?
So I think for me, what has helped me is the knowledge that I have support. I'm freer to take more chances. And maybe, that's an advantage that I do know that I have. I have a family that is extremely supportive and stand behind me and stand by me. But on top of that, I focused a lot on making sure that I have the proper education that I needed to have, because nobody can take that away, right? So people can be subjective and have their opinions about you, but no one can ever take away your education, ever. It's there and it's permanent.
Yeah.
That's what.
Mm.
And two, knowing your own worth, right? So I was raised in knowing that my worth is not dependent on what other people may think of me. My worth is dependent on my skills. My worth is dependent on me and what I know of myself. And I knew that no matter what the struggles are, I will get through and I'll get past it. And so, despite what obstacles you may have faced, because as a Black woman in America, as an African woman in America, there are constant roadblocks, constant. Some are blatant and some are not. And you have to learn to sort of read the room, as they say, and see what is coming at you and try to figure out a way to counter it. Whether it is being um, vocal, because when you're vocal, people know exactly what they can and cannot say to you and what they can and cannot do to you. And that makes it a lot easier to navigate the system, and just working extremely hard, but taking advantages that are there, right? Because if it's just hard work, everybody will be extremely successful, right? Because most of us are hardworking. So,
Yes. So, just listening to you now, I'm wondering, being vocal is, like you just said, is what limits people to knowing what to do to you, knowing that you'd speak up. But some women are, or people of African descent, is it by our nature or some form of training, or especially people in the Islamic faith, women are supposed to be assertive but modest, they'll be quiet. How do you reconcile both in the world that you live in?
so you're right. As a Muslim woman, we know the teachings are about modesty, your eyes down, and so on and so forth. But I think that when we look at, even in the Islamic faith, if you look beyond just what we are told, we know that well, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the one person who could correct him while he was praying was who? Right?
Aisha.
His wife.
Yes.
So, if you look beyond what the people who are here now are trying to teach and tell you, you know that we are not supposed to just be quiet, and just sit back, right? We have the right and the opportunity to speak up. And
Yes.
if we take the time to look beyond, then it gives you a little strength, especially as it relates to, at least in that if we take the Islamic faith. But culturally, we have a patriotic uh, 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 community, right?
Society.
Our
Yeah.
continent is very patriotic.
Yes.
So, in the world, really
Mm.
globally, if
Yes.
we're most of the world is patriotic, right? And so, because of that, most of the rights are given to the men and not the women. So as a woman, you have to wrest that power and that right, because what's the saying? Power concedes nothing. Right? They're not going to give up the power. You have to wrest it
Yes.
from
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And so for me, I reconcile it with knowing at the end of the day, you're more likely to say, I wish I had, than I wish I had not.
That's true.
And I don't want to be the wish I had. They say it's better to apologize than to ask permission.
Yes.
So
So great. I enjoy. I love that. Better not to. Better to apologize than to ask permission. And power concedes nothing, so you have to wrestle it, take it. But in Africa and most parts of the world today, standards are lowered every day. And you have, in your career, from what I've listened, from what I've heard from your bio, you have demonstrated excellence as a lawyer and as an advocate. How would you advise, maybe from your country of origin and other African countries, for all the youth, all the young ones listening to you today? How do we bring back excellence into our daily lives? How do we make it normal? How does it become a part of us so that we're not now facing all these abuses of leadership that we have in Africa today?
You know, sometimes when I have these conversations, I realize I'm speaking from a place of privilege, living in the United States and having a type of freedom that most of my counterparts on the continent don't have, and the feeling of safety that most don't have. So it's easy for me to sort of give these opinions of what people should do on the continent. Um, but coming from a place of privilege, and but still understanding the danger that some people face, I can say that historically, right, we know that change does not happen easy. We know that change does not does not happen by people sitting or being quiet. Even here in the U.S., right? For me, to have the rights that I have as an African, as a Black woman, Black Americans had to sacrifice a lot. Some, some town decimated, bombed, you know, people killed, people hung, people burned, you name it. It happened to Black Americans in this country in order for them to have the rights that I've able to enjoy coming here from the continent. I see all that to say that it's difficult back home, for many of us, for many of my counterparts. But I still believe that speaking the truth makes a lot of difference, and when we do it, a coalition, because for many, regardless of where we are, the more people, the harder it is to yeah, it's easy to shut down one voice. It's easy, but it's much harder to shut down a huge. Yeah, it's much harder. So if we are talking about making real changes, let's try to not do this alone, right? Where we all want to be the ones in front, we all want to be the voice, and we all, we need to be more coalescing. And it's not one direction, right? It's not one way. There are different ways. Even here in the US, they had different parallel ways. They had MLK style, they have Malcolm X style, but they were all going towards the same goal. They may not have been together at the beginning, but they're all going towards the same goal. And at the end of the day, that is what makes things happen and change. And even here, right, this past summer, with all the marches after George Floyd's murder on international TV, the only reason we're having even discussions of changing police is because not one person, not two people, a whole lot of people came out in the streets. So it's about coalition building. It's about people of like mind tampering their own egos and looking at the purpose that is similar, or a shared goal, and working backwards from that shared goal. I think that's how we can get to a better African, a better advocacy than where we are right now. And this is speaking from my perch of uh, um, being in the U.S. and having the the ability to say what I want and I want how I want it.
So I can conclude that the freedom that of rights and respect of rights, of the human rights of people generally, is a privilege that you'd encourage Africans to enshrine in our laws and enforce for every individual. Let's
Every
go on this.
single individual. But in order for them to put it in the law, I believe in community activism and grassroots organizing,
Fighting for it.
because every elected official, whether they're here or on the continent, they only do what they think will protect them. And
It's
so
true.
if the populace is telling you, if you don't do this, you're not protected, there's a better that they will do what they're supposed to do. So it's not just complaining about it, but standing up for the issues that you believe need to be enshrined in laws. Definitely human rights, women's rights, and protecting the youth, because they are the future of the continent. I mean, the percentage of youth on the continent is astronomical, right? It's probably, if
Yes.
not the highest, one of the highest in the world.
Good. So thank you so much. Let's go on a short musical break. When we return, I will continue with the questions. Welcome back. Still with me is Madam Fatmata Barrie. And my next question will be to tap, of course, again into your experience so far. I don't want to believe that your success and your pedigree in your career has been without risk or challenges. So I want to tap into your strategies for for facing and taking certain risk and the challenges that you've faced, how you've combated them. I need a breakdown in bullet points. Your strategy in life.
Okay. So it all depends on what you really want to do, right? So I have a solo practice. Um, and I practice immigration and special education law, and do some nonprofit consulting services. So out of law school, um, I worked for two law firms, both of them boutique law firms, meaning they were not large law firms. And in a smaller law firm, I was able to hone my skills. I was never interested in the big firms, mainly because you are a number, and the learning curve is not the same, and the process of learning is really the same, and it's more like warehousing. So for my purposes, I went into small firms. I never applied for big firms. And that was because I wanted to have the individual attention from the managing attorneys, which I got. And so I was able to learn better and hone my skills before I branched out on my own. And one of the attorneys I worked for, this one is Nigerian, actually. And I think he should be back in Nigeria now. So after I left um, the second firm, his firm, I went out on my own. And going out on your own here in the U.S. it'd be different from um, the continent. I'm not sure, but one of the first things I did, after I went out on my own and I was doing special education law, because that has been basically my whole adult life, is working with children with special needs, and then going into law and doing the same thing. So it's following what you desire to do. It makes life a much, much easier than just to do something. So if you are interested in a particular type of law, focus on that and hone that skill. It's better to have a skill than to say you do everything, but you're really not that great at any of it. So you can be a general practitioner. If you're honing one or two skills, you become that person that people come to for that particular skill set. So for me, it was education law for many years. And then I branched into immigration law. And when I branched into immigration law, I went back and I took courses with the DC bar. And it was weeks and weeks of coursework, and relearned and went back to learn about immigration law and not pretend like I know what I'm doing. So it's a process of preparing ahead of time if you're going to go out on your own, and knowing who you are And for here, it's saving up to make sure that you can step out on your own and hang your shingles, as they say here. And then, you know, be out there and give as much as you get. So I will advise young people, because I'm more of a community activist and advocate. And so my practice is especially immigration rights, nonprofits, because that's my heart. But as your process of doing that, make sure that you make the funds first, right? So you can give back, right? You can provide for your community, but make sure you don't hurt yourself in the process, because then you can't help anyone after that, right? So make sure that you are um, majority of your time is spent, especially when you're young, making the money, and you can have some hours of pro bono work, but focus a lot on building your practice and building your skill.
Just listening to you, I want to believe that this passion for fighting injustice for women, youth, and like you said, it's not by mistake that you focused on education law originally. So you're a humanist. That's how I'd like to put it. What lessons, apart from what you just said now, building yourself, saving some funds so that you have something to give, what other lessons would you share with an African youth listening, especially women, females who, because some human need, passion to help is innate in some people, but they don't know how to strategize these things. So, give advice to young females listening who have the same passion, who want to grow up to be a Fatmata Barrie, who don't know exactly what to do. What guidelines would you give them? What steps would you advise they take, they follow?
Okay. The first step would be to just volunteer, if that's what you want, if you want to do that sort of work. Volunteer initially. I know sometimes we just want to go out there and do big things, but volunteer your time little by little, and build your, because even providing services is still a skill that you have to develop. Because one lesson that I learned and still learning is that the people you're helping are no less than you, right? The people you're helping, you're no better than they are. You just maybe happen to either be born in a better situation, or
Yes.
you had the opportunity to take advantage of a situation and that they didn't, or you were privileged enough to be exposed to a certain environment that they were not, or they don't have the skill set to get or take advantage of certain situations. So you treat them the same way you would treat the senior barrister at a firm. Okay. And that will help you as you move forward in doing this type of work, because it helps you see the person, it helps you see the people you're serving, it helps you know that there's more than their need for immigration services, there's more their poverty, there's more than their disability, and that helps you grow as you help them. So then it's also helping you at the time. And keep that in mind as you move forward and over time, and be patient. Because sometimes you don't wish, and be patient with yourself, be patient with the process. I have somebody who tells me all the time, and even I am still like this, that the process is probably one of the most important things. It's extremely important. The process of getting to what you want to get to. It's not just, okay, I'm here, but the process of getting there and making sure allow the process to happen and take place. I think
Happen.
that's, yeah, let it
Very
happen.
important.
Let the process continue.
Yes, I heard clearly, and I appreciate that very important part. Right, before my very eyes here, a young girl I know should be in this interview right now, be listening. Do not jump the process. It must take. its course. Let it happen. I just love that you went there. Um, I want you to to share your experience at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, and yourself what you served at, what office you served as the foundation of your journey into law, and also find a way to add the office you're running for and why you're running for that office.
Okay. So I received my bachelor's degree, my baccalaureate degree from Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Over here, it's what's called an HBCU, a historically Black college or university. And it was the best decision I ever made. I was in the psychology department, which was very, very Afrocentric. So it kept you grounded. They had high expectations of, and you could not pretend to have, you know, obstacles that you could not overcome. So I had, I think I had a C on a test, and I went to the professor, and all he could tell me was, I was very surprised, Mary, because you know better. Like literally, you know better. I'm like, if I knew better, I wouldn't have a C. But that type of environment where there's an expectation that you will do better, that you will be better, that was priceless. Because unfortunately, for many of us growing up in this country, when you go to historically white universities, you don't always get that same of high achievement. If you get a C, it's like, oh, you tried. If you get a C over there, it's, what are you doing? Sort of thing. So there's a little bit of difference in how you're treated. So that was fantastic. Went to University of Florida for school to get my law degree. It was a different environment because University of Florida is a historically white college, a white university. And the reality is, when my class got in was back in 1999. And the first Black man graduated from the university, his daughter was coming in the second year of my law school career. He was still alive. So that tells you the history. The first man out of either graduated or admitted to University of Florida. I'm trying to remember correctly. But again, he was able to go because another Black man sacrificed his desire to the University of Florida by reaching an agreement when he sued them and said, okay, fine, I won't come here, but you have to now accept Black people. And these people were still alive. So that tells you the history, But so that's my journey to having a career in law. So all these different experiences, and it tells you that the real world out here, you have to build strength with those who will give you the strength, and fight those who are trying to keep you back and hold you down and hold your community down. And these are all the reasons that got me more interested in doing community service and working for those who otherwise cannot do for themselves, or whose voices are made. I want to amplify people's voices. And that's why I'm running for county council. Really, I live in a county that is very diverse on paper. We're a very, very diverse county. And in this place, we will, anything about Montgomery County, you will hear that we have maybe 4 of the top most diverse cities in the country. And that about 45% of the population is either foreign born or were born here by foreign parents. So it gives you a perspective of this community, of this county. However, on our county council, where I'm trying to get to, we have one African man. His father was Nigerian. His mother is American. That was elected, and he was just elected back in 2018 for the first time ever. We've never had an African woman. We've never had a Muslim woman or Muslim person in the council. And I'm running for this seat. The district that I'm running for is majority, what they call majority minority. And people of color are white when you put us together. But yet we are not really represented on the council.
So
And
it is
that's what
not
I'm running on.
balanced in terms of
It's
population.
it's
It
not
seems to be a
balanced. It's
very tough
exactly. There's
place to
no
be.
right. There's no representation. So I'm running on equity and inclusion because
Yes.
here we talk about a lot about diversity, and diversity is fine, but I think it's been overused to mask the fact that not everyone is included. No, not everyone is at the table, and not everyone's voice is heard. And that's the change I want to bring to the Montgomery County Council and to address a whole lot of issues that we have here in this county, despite the fact that we're very diverse. There are issues that pertain to non-majority communities, especially for myself as a Black person, as a woman, because we don't have any women. We have one woman on Montgomery County Council, and she leaves next year. And if everything stays status, we will have 11 county council members. If we are lucky, maybe one woman.
Wow. Very, very imbalanced. I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, wish you success at this. I think it's
Thank
long
you.
overdue. So I expect to be congratulating you after the elections. I'm really, really hopeful that this happens.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
know that there's a back of the mind consciousness around people about these inequities in the world today. So I expect that it will be natural to just support you for the people around. I'm hoping on that. I wish you the very
Thank
best at it.
you.
Yes, yes. But
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, yeah.
quickly leave an advice for for a young person watching today on what they should be conscious about in their environment. Because what you just shared with me now is so important and it's as relevant as it is in the US to us here in Nigeria. Give an advice for a young person instead of being so carried away by entertainment and enjoyment. We don't like to stress, like they say in Nigeria. Nobody wants stress. So we don't bother about these policies until maybe when we're in our 40s. Shouldn't we bother? So leave an advice for a young person on what they should be conscious about and how important
Okay.
it is.
Okay. My advice would be the change that you want. Be the change that you want. Because no change can happen if you sit back. So you may sit in a room with your peers, and complain about something, but that's not going to make the change by complaining about it. Be the change. Enjoy yourself. I have an uncle. I had an uncle, my mother's baby brother, who passed away right before I started law school. My last conversation with him was when I received my acceptance letter to law school. I told him, I'm like, Uncle, I made it. I'm in law school. I'm going to be starting in January. I was so excited, so happy. And he told me, I am very happy for you, because he was very much a bookworm. He was a librarian, all about books and education. And he said, make sure you work very, very, very hard and make sure you focus on the things that are important. He said, but not for your life. So I would say, enjoy your life, but not at the expense of
Of the-
making the change that you want to happen, because only you can do it. If you sit and wait for others, it may never happen. And if a whole lot of you are sitting in a room talking about an issue, guess what? A whole lot of you can also put a plan in place to make the change that needs to happen. And I've seen some groundswells, right, in Nigeria with the youth. And I say, keep it up, don't give up, don't stop, and make it national, make it international, because that's just how it works, and be honest with yourself and true to who you are as a person, and things usually work out. Things usually work out.
Thank you so much. I would add, find yourself first and, be true to yourself
Mhm.
I loved and enjoyed this interview. Really, it will live with me for a very long time. But how can our viewers connect with you on social media? Do you have a mentoring group where young girls can enlist and learn?
Well, I don't necessarily have a mentoring group, but I do have a group called Black Diaspora Voices. So, Black Diaspora Voices is a Facebook group that I created for the purpose of bringing the Black diaspora together. Initially, around Kamala Harris when she was appointed to be vice president, vice presidential candidate. But the intent was at the end of the election was to make it into this, which it is now. So it's Black Diaspora Voices on Facebook. You can check out, get in there, and we have conversations, discourse about different issues. But I am Facebook Barrie. You see my personal Facebook page, and it's just that I don't have anything special. And
Okay, so only
my
on Facebook.
yeah, it's just
Facebook
Fatmata Barrie, and you
as Fatmata Barrie.
that's it, just Fatmata Barrie, but you see lawyer or attorney. In the
Okay,
Barrie Law Center. The Barrie
okay,
Law Center is my law practice. And
okay,
my campaign website is fatmatabarrie.com. And I'm also on Facebook for Fatmata Barrie for County Council. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. So if you just search for Fatmata Barrie for County Council, you'll find me. And I think my Instagram handle is Legal Nubian. I think that's
legal, okay. Legal Lumia,
Nubian.
legal Lumia,
Mhm.
or legal Lumia,
Legal Nubian, Nubian.
Nubian, okay, legal Nubian. I thought I heard Nubia. So, legal Nubia on LinkedIn, or where is
Nubian.
that?
LinkedIn is
Nubian,
just Fatmata
legal,
Barrie. LinkedIn
okay.
is
So,
just Fatmata Barrie. Yeah.
legal
So
Nubian on
on
which of the platforms now?
Instagram.
Okay, on Instagram. Good.
Hmm.
Okay. So there's also the Fatimata County Council on Instagram
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Barrie for County Council.
Okay.
So it's
So
Barrie,
let me just
Barri. Do you want me to put it in the chat or just say it?
okay, please add it on the chat. I'm sure because I want it to be added to this interview at the end of the production. It's very
Oh,
important.
perfect.
So I would follow you on Facebook immediately on Black Diaspora Voices. I'd also
Okay.
follow you on the Barry Law Barry Law,
The
Abi.
Barrie
That's
Law
your one.
Center.
Sorry.
Yes.
And then on Instagram, Legal Nubian.
Legal Nubian is my personal. It's
Your personal page.
LEGALNUBIAN.
Yes. So I'll do that immediately. And so for all those interested, follow Legal Nubian on Instagram, on Barry Law on Facebook, Black Diaspora Voices on Facebook as well, and Fatimata Barry on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram for other pages that you have. On LinkedIn
So
as
it's
well. Fatimata
yeah,
Barry on LinkedIn.
it's Fatmata Barrie for council.
Okay, Fatima Tabari for council for the
Mm-hmm.
to support your ambition to office.
For the
I
team.
really hope
Yeah.
that becomes a success that I will share in another interview that I might have with you. I hope you'll come.
I will. You let me know, and I will anything to inspire young women. I am all for it. And who knows? Maybe we can work together to have a mentorship youth group.
I
Why not?
do not mind. I'll set it up and get back to you, ma'am. Thank you so
Yes.
much for being
Okay.
available for me this afternoon. Thank you for sharing your time
Thank you
with
so
us.
much.
We do appreciate you. And that'll be the end of the interview. I'll just round up and we'll close the interview. Thank you so much, Ma, for being here.
Thank you.
I hope
Send
you
you all. I'll send you guys all the information on WhatsApp, and then you can
okay.
um,
Okay, we
have
can
it.
add that. So thank you. Thank you so much, Ma. I
You
hope
have a
you
good
all
one.
enjoyed today's interview like I did. Thank you, Ma. See you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye. And on behalf of Agbari Multimedia again, I want to say thank you for your time and for those impactful counsel today. If you have enjoyed today's interview, please let us know in our chat section. Send us messages, send us comments on what you think, we could add on our Facebook, our Twitter, and Instagram handles, and I'll be sure to take all of them. And when we have her again, we can just be asking your questions. Till I come your way again, I am Nima Akashat Zibiri. Be inspired by this interview and get ready to be the next Amazons or Afripreneurs to be interviewed on the show. All right, see you next time. Bye.